Hey guys, thank you for having me today. Super excited to be here. Yes, so I come all the way from Tallinn, Estonia, from a company called Wolt, where I have been leading our food delivery vertical called Wolt Food for almost 7 years now. And to kick off our story for today, how to turn constraints into competitive edges, I want to give you the background of Wolt Food, how it all started. Well, it took a team only of 25 people and 6 months to launch Wolt Food back in August in 2019. And I joined the company actually in the beginning of the year in 2019, in January, and back then it was called Taxify. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, and we rebranded the same year. So only after 2 weeks of being in the company, I was approached by our CPO, who then offered me to lead our new bet. It was not called Wolt Food back then, it was just food delivery, generic, no name, to lead the design there. But the caveat there was we had to launch in 6 months. And what's the reason behind that extreme deadline? Well, pretty much the less players you have in the market, the easier it is to get in. So the markets where we want to launch our food delivery, we had pretty much only one competitor, which was Wolt. So we were fearing that someone else, like Uber Eats, would step into the market, and it will be much more expensive for us to acquire customers, to sign up couriers, to sign up merchants. So that's the reason why this extreme deadline was set. How this converted for product design? Well, it pretty much converted into having 2 weeks only dedicated to designing each app. And by each app, I mean the courier app, the merchant app, and the consumer app. Now, the reason of even more extreme deadline for that was in order to meet this deadline set by the management of 6 months, the backend and the frontend, they had to work in parallel. So the backend had to have a really good understanding of the entire user journey, of the entire user flow, to build their foundation. Well, and the frontend, well, they had to build the UI, so they need to have access to high-fidelity design mockups as soon as possible. How did we actually do it? In short, it's all about making the right trade-offs. You realize that there's not enough time to do proper research, proper discovery, user interviews, surveys, any of that. We simply had to skip all of this, and the focus was purely on competitive research. Now, the reason for that, we were building this whole service from scratch. When I joined the company, I didn't have any prior experience actually designing any type of delivery app, be it courier, merchant, or the consumer app. Yes, I have made some orders via Wolt, but doesn't mean that I know all the details. Neither did the team. And we decided that the best way actually was to learn from our competition. They have been operating with millions of customers and for years now on a lot of markets, so they probably have a really good understanding of how it should work. And then we would learn from it. And of course, from a design perspective, I didn't want to have any type of problems when we were going to launch with design. Because in this food delivery business is a very low marginal business. The cost of making a mistake is extremely high. So if you fail one order, just to break even, you have to make 10 successful orders. So yeah, from the design perspective, that was not a great place to be because you simply had to copy what the competition was doing. And for the MVP, well, we decided we're going to be focusing purely whatever gets the food delivered. So for example, when we launched, we didn't have even a rating flow. So if you're seeing that order, you would not be able to rate it, for example. Or we didn't have an advanced search or filters, any of that. Homepage consisted of pretty much one category, which was focusing on incentives. So incentives is the only feature that we decided to prioritize because of discounts. Discounts is whatever gets customers because, again, you get free delivery or menu discounts. It makes acquiring customers much easier. And by the way, besides purely product design, I was only one among 4 other product designers in the entire company at that point of time. And that meant that I still had to design the branding, the logo, come up with a name, Wolt Food. That was a very lengthy process as well. And even design, like, I don't know, a food delivery bag for couriers. There was a funny story that our product manager, for example, we ordered a bunch of different delivery bags from China, and he was running around making sure which one was the most comfortable, which one fitted the most amount of pizzas, etc. So there was a lot of work, but actually, on August 21st, we launched. That was my ever first order delivered via Bolt Food, and first pizza with one of our couriers. And by the way, that deadline of 6 months was actually a very good choice, because I'm not sure if you're aware what happened in the beginning of 2020, only 4 months later. COVID, yes. COVID was a very bad thing for the planet, but for Bolt Food it was fantastic, because this actually helped us to grow our business really rapidly. While ride-hailing service suffered, we lost 90% of our revenue. Food delivery was booming. And today we are live in 17 countries, 200 cities, and serving millions of active customers. Now, from the team perspective, where we are. So we were 25, now we are 150 people. And from product design being one-man design team, we have now 9 people, including research and copywriting. However, if you look at our competition, well, they have around 700 people in their research and development department and around 60 people in product design. So 6 times more than what we have at Bolt. We are definitely outnumbered, but we are not outplayed. So how to win? First of all, it all starts with the culture. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of who is this creature. It's called a honey badger. It lives in Africa and is being known for being the super rough and fearless creature. I would encourage you to Google that guy, because you'll probably stumble upon this video right there, where this guy fights off 4 lions and gets away actually alive. And that's kind of incorporated into DNA of everyone who works at Bolt. So if you ever work at Bolt, you would probably see this symbol absolutely everywhere in Slack, in events. We have a title called Honey Badger of the Month, and principles act like a true honey badger. And then we follow specific principles. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this quote from Steve Jobs, as deciding what not to do is as important as deciding what to do. So we follow this principle relentlessly. We approach every single task or a problem with extreme pragmatism. We focus on those things that can actually move the needle from the ROI perspective, where we can invest as little time as possible to gain as much impact as possible. And that's everything when you have a small team. We have so much feedback coming from not only from our customers, but even from our employees. So, for example, over 4,000 people at Bolt use our services and provide feedback. So you can imagine how big of our backlog is. It's huge. So if we focus on too many things, we will simply not survive. So we spend so much time on spending so much time on planning around what are we going to be doing and what we're going to be prioritizing. Then it's all about actually hiring the right people. Bolt is definitely not for everyone. While things like end-to-end ownership and high autonomy sound like a good idea, but that actually means it comes with a lot of accountability and responsibility. A lot of times, when you have a small team, you don't have access or support from a copywriter or researcher. That means you have to do it on your own. And we had multiple situations when you don't even have support from a product manager. And that means you still have to carry on, you have to deliver those projects, which are going to be used by millions of people. And again, cost of making a mistake is too high. Taking that responsibility and accountability upon yourself is definitely not for everyone. However, that can be actually seen as an advantage. So the fewer people you have, the fewer meetings you have, the fewer things you have, and the number one thing that slows everyone down is dependencies. If you have ever worked in big product organizations, you know that dependencies are slowing you down. Since when you have a small team, well, sometimes you don't have to just wait for someone to do their job, you just simply do it on your own. And to illustrate how this all works, I would like to go over a case study on how we design a vision for Bolt Food. Actually, in the end of last year, when we were in the middle of annual planning process, I was approached by our director of product from Wolt Food, who wanted to enhance or improve this process by creating something more visible, something that people can better believe and invest to. So instead of just focusing pure on spreadsheets and impact estimations, why don't we just come up with something that we want to kind of actually see from a design perspective? So that project was led by me and our staff product designer, whose name is Tomasz. He's right here somewhere in the audience. He's also, actually, he's from Poland. So we decided to yet again start with market research, and not just any market research, actually an immersion trip to London. So that's the footage from our London office. We don't operate in London for delivery. We have a ride-hailing service. However, that's Tomasz, by the way, yes. Why we wanted to go there physically? So actually, there's going to be a lot of quotes that you can do this remotely and see everything like online. However, you cannot really simulate this experience. Physical presence is super important to understand all the user pain points, all the opportunities that the market might offer. And why specifically London? This is an extremely competitive market, and we wanted to understand maybe the competition is doing something that we are not aware of. So we wanted to get inspired and gain as much knowledge as possible. Now, and by the way, it might seem like fun. Just go there and do a bunch of deliveries. It's going to be super easy, etc. We were exhausted because not only we were creating tons of different orders, pickup orders, scheduled orders, creating CS tickets for customer support, etc. I think literally understanding everything that's going on. But at the same time, we have to document everything so later on we can share this with all the other stakeholders and our team. When we came back, we decided not just give it have a generic name, we decided give it a name, like a Project Yummy was the name chosen for that. Now, and as a next step, we actually had this one big giant Figma board where we gathered all these ideas that we absorbed from this research trip and created low fidelity wireframes with all these ideas that we have actually have been thinking about for years and observed in this trip. And then we organized a design workshop. Actually, there was 2 of them. But the whole idea was to convert those low fidelity wireframes and all these ideas that we have seen into high fidelity design mockups. And the cool factor about this, that first of all, the design team worked in parallel. That meant that even if you get stuck, you can see what others are doing and get inspired and continue on and improve those ideas, iterate upon them much faster if you would work alone. And by the way, since I've talked in the beginning that Wolt is only focusing on the projects that really can move the needle, that means a lot of times, actually the majority of times, you don't have an opportunity to work on those features that you were thinking about for years. And this workshop kind of satisfied that creative need where you can do whatever you want, explore, have this as a vision. So, as a result of these 2 workshops, yes, you cannot see all the details yet, the team has created so many interesting and great ideas. And then it was up to me and Tomasz to select those, handpick the best ideas that came out of this workshop and form them. The idea was we're going to form actually, let's call it Wolt Food in 5 years, Wolt Food in 2030, how it will actually look like so everyone can play around, interact with this, so a prototype. Now, I cannot show you all the details and all the features that we have came up with. However, before presenting everything to the upper management, we created a teaser video. And this teaser video highlighted everything that we have achieved. And this is the video that I would like to share with you today. I hope we have sound. No, we don't. We have. Right. The amount of features that you have seen in this small video was 43 features, actually. All of those features were new features, not something that we had previously in the app. And some of those were small, some of those were big features, like requiring higher effort. But again, to illustrate how much impact you can actually gain from, in my opinion, a very small effort. So the whole project, the entire vision, took only 2 3-hour workshops for 6 designers and 8-man weeks for 2 individual contributors, which was me and Tomasz. But it not only, so what you have seen there, some of those features are already live in the app. Some of them are going to be released next month, maybe like, I don't know, maybe in a week. And some of them are actually planned for next year. And the reality of this was not only the outputs that it was produced. Actually, there's so much talk about design being in the center of this process and how to elevate design in general between like engineering and product management. The output of this project actually improved the relationship between product and design and how we approach planning. It changed how we actually do annual planning now, how we approach quarterly planning process. It's changed how we even approach projects right now, because we believe that we can now invest, again, we now have a similar project going through the same kind of framework where we think that we, again, going to be delivering much more impactful results compared to like very traditional way of doing stuff. And again, this bond between product and design became much better. We are now really being treated as partners in the room, not just ICs. And that's super important, especially for Wolt, as Wolt is a very engineering and product-driven organization, and we are constantly fighting towards bringing design to a much higher place. And I really hope that this presentation and case studies serve to be this evidence of that you don't have to spend years and have massive teams to produce something impactful. That is pretty much it for me. Thank you so much.